Hello, we're back. Grab your beverage. Pause and grab. I've got my tea, and let me tell you, guess what? I was just rummaging through the fridge, all the leftovers. I totally forgot that I have mincemeat pie. How did I forget? So that was exciting. Anyway, let's see where we were. Okay, I think we read Cat and Mouse, right? Okay, we read Love Letters. Okay. Okay, we read Where He Meets where, guys, I kind of hauled my bangs out to do sort of like oh, they look awful. I was just in the wind. I went grocery shopping and, well, not really grocery shopping, but I needed milk and cat food. So I was out. So I hauled out my bangs, and should I bring them back? I don't really think I want to do bangs like, do I? Do I want to do bangs like this? Just wispy ones? Or do I want to do like a 1970s waterfall bang, which is kind of what I have right now? Or no bangs. You tell me. What do you think? Oh, Lord. It's getting worse. Okay, the other thing is, guys, I have to start working out every day because I'm going to be going to my new job starting, I did a couple shifts already, but it's going to begin in earnest on January 5th. Let me tell you, it's so physical that I was crying out. I could tell I've gained a lot of weight in the past year, and for my frame, it's hard to bear. I'm at the stage now where it hurts walking upstairs. My joints are screaming if I'm physical for too long. So I've got to lose the weight again because I can't be feeling like this at my age. It's unconscionable. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start marking off on the calendar, like, oh, my lamp's not on. It just doesn't seem right without its, oh, look, it's suddenly bright in here. I think I will start Xing off all the days that I do it, and then I'll just like hold it up once a week for you to be like, look, maybe some accountability would be nice. We'll see. That would be a miracle. No, I really have to get moving because, once a woman, what is it, 35 or 40? I forget. Once you hit, I'm 39. You start losing bone density and blah, 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 blah. So okay, so my plan is that I'm going to start doing Grow with Joe. Now, I don't know if any of you remember Joyce Vidral. Hold on, I'm going to go grab her book. 1 second. Okay, so Joyce Vidral, she was a big deal in the 80s and 90s, and she was still doing a lot in the 2000s. She is, now I'm going crazy. The only problem is that they are such that when they get in the wind, they just go wonky. Okay. She's such a character. She's like I don't know if she was from Brooklyn. She's from New York anyway. And I really like her because we have a similar body type. Okay. Like she has a long torso and short legs. It just looks like she's got mile-long legs because she's got like when did this come out? 94? 95. She's got the high cut bodysuit, so her legs look longer than they are. But look, if that's where her butt cheek begins, that means, oh yeah, and you can see like her pelvic bone is here, and then her legs begin. And she's like all of 5 feet, 5'1". So she's got a long torso and short legs, and that's me. And it's the bane of my existence. Anyway, so I was trying to decide what to do. Now, I know that I should probably do... I made so many notes in this, I don't even know what it means. I'm so confused. What did I mean? That plus that. That plus that. Confused. But then I thought, well, maybe I should start with a Grow with Jo workout, because Grow with Jo, if you haven't, look her up on YouTube if you don't know who she is. She does these really great, like, at-home workouts. Sorry, now my hair's driving me crazy. Because my hair is such that it has to be styled twice before, like, it's very fluffy from the first, like, when I first wash it and it's styled, it needs 2 styles to be smooth. Okay, anyway, distracted. So, Joyce withdrawal plus treadmill, okay, is one option, which I know it'll work. The only thing is that I don't know if it's a little intense for me at this time in my life when I am so completely out of shape. I mean, she is meant for total beginners. So, and you use very, very light weights. You do like 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound weights because it's like high reps, low weight. And it has really great reviews. And I've looked on forums, and there doesn't seem to be anyone doing her workouts anymore. But all the forums that I found are from like 20 years ago in the early 2000s, and people are swearing by her. And I mean, I did see some comments on YouTube. All her videos are on YouTube as well. If you didn't want to do like the books. But I sometimes have a hard time watching a video when it's a workout. I'm too distractible. I don't know. We'll see. That's one option. Then the other is Grow with Jo. She has these really great home workouts. You hardly need any space. It's just like walking in place, and then she has like arm movements and leg movements, and people in the comments like say that they've lost good amounts of weight doing them. So maybe I'll start with that. I don't know. I can't decide. And this is what I always do. And then I do nothing because I get myself like, I don't know what to do. And then I always want to pack on. I always want to do these workouts that I just can't sustain. So maybe I should just start with Grow with Jo. And then once I get some results and I lose a few pounds and I start feeling better and my mobility gets better, then I can switch to Joyce withdrawal. Does that seem logical? Okay, we're 7 minutes in. Let's go. The last time I was in Massachusetts, I found a bunch of these on Craigslist and in the area, and I went and picked them up, and I was so excited. Oh my gosh. I paid like $2 a book. And the lady who sold them, she said that they're awesome. All right, what page are we on? Okay, so we just talked about how she told Ron that she had had an abortion. And I just felt like this woman likes to cause pain. Like, I said in the comments, I don't mark everyone a narcissist, but I actually think she is, because the way that she sought out Sue Ferguson at that book launch or whatever it's called, party for Jilly Cooper, whatever her name was, for the Polo novel, which I want to look up. The way she intentionally sought out Sue Ferguson and then went out of her way to be like, oh, and she was more comfortable talking about clothes. I highly doubt that. Everything that Sarah Ferguson said about her stepmother, Sue Ferguson, was glowing. About that she was just the kindest woman. Lovely, lovely. Which, also, how could Sarah talk out of both sides of her mouth like that? Like, say that she just loved Sue, that Sue was, Sue, I don't know how much older she was than Sarah Ferguson. I don't think all that much. She was 15 years younger than... Maybe she was 10 years older than Sarah Ferguson. I don't know. But all I know is that for Sarah to go on and on about how much she loves Sue and what a great stepmother she was, and yet at the same time be facilitating an affair, I just have no words. Anyway, I looked Sue Ferguson up. There is nothing to be found about this woman, other than the fact that she was married to Ron from 1975 until his death in 2003, I believe. She has not spoken a word. I think she's a class act, personally. I wonder what has become of their children. Someone who knows more than me, or someone who has better internet skills, you should look them up and let us know in the comments. All right. Let me just make sure my microphone is on. Okay, because you know what? I tried to record this earlier and then it turned out my mic was off. So I was like, forget it, I'm going to the store. Now I'm back. Okay. So, chapter 16 is entitled, Welcome to Sunning Hill Park. Freda? I recognized her voice, playing games again. It's Jane. I rang to invite you to supper. Oh, I said, Sarah, that's lovely. I was genuinely thrilled. Friday night, she said. It'll be late. You'll stay the night. It sounded like a royal command, and I had said yes before I even thought about it. I added, what can I bring, a bottle of wine or a dessert? Leslie, said the voice on the phone gently, I'm the Duchess of York. You don't bring things like that to my house. I did anyway. A bottle of champagne, vintage Bollinger. Her favorite, as I ascertained an hour later from Ronald when I rang to tell him the news. But he knew already. My first impression when I walked through the great oak front doors of Sunninghill Park was that I had blundered onto a film set. Not Dallas. The comparison that so many people tried to make with the Queen's £5 million wedding gift to her favorite son and his bride. But something far more spectacular. I think that over the next few days I should have a Dallas or Dynasty, whatever, marathon. The only problem is that when I watch those two shows in particular, I have this terrible urge to completely gut my wardrobe and put all of this like 80s glam in there. But it's so fun to watch. Even if you're not paying attention to the story, just the clothes. Oh my Lord. Gorgeous. The press had dubbed Sarah's new home South York, because in Dallas, the house is called South Fork. And in the months to come, I would sometimes hear her refer to it in those words, with a wry smile. But for my money, it left Dallas, South Fork, and JR in the shade. I had taken the roles. Who cares? Oh, my word. It's like she really thinks that we're so interested anytime she sets dainty foot in the Rolls Royce and presses her little pumped toes to the gas pedal. Okay, I'm trying not to be so ugly, but I just get so frustrated. The bottle of Bollinger, I don't know, was nestled in a wicker basket in the boot. 85 vintage, a good year. Or so my local off-license had assured me. What's an off-license? Liquor is very regulated in Canada. So, like, just in the past few years, can you buy wine in a grocery store? And beer and cider. Before, you could only buy it at a designated government liquor store. So, they're called something different in every province. But, where was I going with this? If you work at one of these liquor stores, you technically work for the government. It's very interesting. So, what's an off license? If someone knows, please tell me what an off license is. My small overnight bag was next to it. I couldn't help but feel a mounting sense of excitement as I turned left off the main A30 Bagshot Staines Road and steered the sleek black silver spur between two open faded white gates, which in the early evening looked decidedly in need of a fresh coat of paint. I found myself bumping down an uneven driveway until a pair of heavy wooden gates set into a high brick wall loomed up ahead. I could see the roofs of various outhouses and the sloping pink tiles of Sunninghill Park itself, and I knew I had reached the inner complex of the 5-acre estate. There was a small guardhouse by the gate, and inside I glimpsed a uniformed policeman peering out. He appeared at the door, and I wound down the window to call out my name. The officer consulted a sheet of paper. "Thank you, miss." He noted the number of my car and pressed a button. The polite but firm ritual over, the gates swung open, and I was into the inner sanctum of the Duke and Duchess of York's official residence. A short driveway led through a group of outhouses to a neat courtyard, and I turned right under a stone archway to reach the main entrance. A young man with a fresh face and a matching smile, wearing a black jacket and pinstripe trousers, was already waiting for me on the steps. Terry Holdforth, the butler. I would get to see a lot of Terry in the weeks to come, and he never, ever put a foot wrong. "Miss Player, welcome to Sunninghill." The guard at the gate must have alerted him. Everything was so smooth, quiet, and efficient, the establishment moving on well-oiled wheels, that I felt the welcome mat had been unobtrusively laid out even before I stepped foot from the car. Terry opened the oak doors wide and stepped back as I stood stunned on the threshold. From the outside, Sunninghill Park House was large, sprawling, but somehow bland. Its red brick facade and sloping hacienda roof with bright pink tiles was smart and elegant, but lacking in character. Perhaps it was the newness. After all, it was less than 6 months since Sarah and Andrew had held their famous 60,000-pound bun fight at the Yorkie Corral housewarming. Guests like Michael Caine, Elton John, David Frost, Billy Connolly, and Pamela Stevenson had tucked into beluga caviar and champagne, and presumably been left open-mouthed like me when they stood on the natural stone floor inside the entrance hall, staring up at the medieval minstrel's gallery and the huge glass dome ceiling that let the sun's rays pour in to flood the white-painted walls with light. There seemed to be flowers everywhere, the Kew Gardens effect heightened by 2 tall ornamental trees on either side of a wide square arch leading to the lounge and dining room. I found my voice. "My suitcase is in the boot. It's unlocked. And a present. We'll take care of everything. This way, please, Miss Player." Terry led me across the hall and under the arch to the first doorway. Inside, Ronald's tall figure rose to greet me. "Leslie, welcome aboard." His booming voice filled the room, and was itself filled with pleasure. He kissed me on both cheeks. "Come in, come in." The living room was vast, and suddenly I felt very small. It was as if I had walked into an austere French chateau, somehow combined with a homely farmhouse. My first impression of the huge fireplace was of a huge fireplace flanked by comfortable chairs, chintzy curtains that matched the 2 sofas, tartan drapes down the entire length of peach-colored walls, and a grand piano packed with family portraits, silver-framed photos of Sarah, Andrew, and the princesses smiling out at the world overflowed onto the mantelpiece above the fireplace and clustered on several small antique tables round the walls. And teddy bears. I couldn't believe it. Was I being haunted by them? Buried deep in the armchairs and sofas were the innocent brown faces of half a dozen teddies, all of them, it would turn out, belonging to Sarah. Was this the stuff of dreams or some kind of portent? But then Ronald was taking my arm and was guiding me out through the French doors onto the patio. The evening sun had turned the sky purple and was casting long shadows on the lawn beyond the terrace. "Champagne," he said. "We're celebrating." "Celebrating what?" "You, me, everything," said Ronald. The rugged face was alight. Oh, it's the first time she's called him rugged rather than craggy or some other horrible description. And he was looking as happy as I had ever seen him. "The tournament's going great guns. Sarah's a little tense, but she'll get over it. Above all, you're here." Terry had appeared like a black-garbed wraith, holding a tray with a long-stemmed champagne glass, the bubbles still freshly fizzling. I smiled at Ronald's enthusiasm, sharing his mood, and raised my glass. "To us," I said. And, after a pause, "Where's Sarah?" "Oh, on the phone," said the Major. "She'll be with us in a minute. Andrew's away, so it's just the 3 of us tonight." Even as he spoke, there was a flurry of movement from inside the room, and Sarah came hurrying out, dressed in jeans and a pink sweater, her red hair tied back into a short ponytail. I myself was wearing a blue dress that was smart, but not overly so, which could double for a house party or a cozy supper for 3. You know what? For all of her little snide comment about Sue Ferguson wanting to talk about clothes, she does her fair share. Good Lord, she describes in detail every bit of clothing that she wears everywhere she goes. Anyway. Leslie. Sarah took both my hands in hers and gave me a light kiss. She had a high color on her cheeks, and I couldn't help noticing that she seemed to be flustered. I wondered if it had anything to do with the phone call. I'm so glad you could come. There was no doubt that she meant it. She took a glass for herself, then added, and thank you for the champagne. There was no need to, you know, but thank you for a lovely thought. Suddenly, out on that terrace, with the twilight stealing over the fields, surrounded as she was by all her wealth and the respect her position commanded, Sarah seemed curiously vulnerable. I remembered a statement one of her friends had made about her. The thing that people misunderstand about Fergie is that she is basically desperately insecure. If anyone likes her, she will automatically like them. I liked her, but in that moment I felt a sudden premonition. Oh, yes. Oh, my Lord, have you noticed that suddenly she's on about like, oh, I'm almost psychic. Oh, my goodness, I just catch feelings about what's going on. Things that defy logic. I can see that this is going to be a new theme. In that moment, I felt a sudden premonition, like a chill finger inexplicably touching my spine. It sent an involuntary shiver through me before I pushed it aside. I think she's been reading too many Victoria Holt novels. Although I love a good Victoria Holt novel. This is just ridiculous. No one talks like this. And I don't believe it for 1 second, because when you do have a premonition, it's a gut instinct. It's not a chill running down your spine that makes you go, ooh. That's just in novels. It's like a little gut punch. It's nonsense. Sarah noticed it. Are you cold? She inquired anxiously. Let's go inside. She could be like that, I would discover, caring and thoughtful about people that mattered to her. What I would soon realize was that I mattered to her because I was important to her father's happiness and peace of mind. And headstrong Sarah, loyal as only a loving daughter could be, would do anything to ensure their continuance. For now, we enjoyed ourselves. Let's have dinner. Then I'll give you the guided tour, she said, sounding more like her vivacious self. Sarah's moods would blow as hot as a furnace and as chill as a glacier, and I would soon see how volatile her emotional barometer could become. You know what? I have no doubt that Leslie Player ruined her life with this book, ruined her career, because who the heck wants anything to do with this person after they write this tell-all? You don't want to do business with someone. You don't want to hire someone or have anything to do with business with someone who writes this kind of book, because you know you're not safe. If Sarah, the Duchess of York, isn't safe, no one's safe. You know, so I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. I would never trust her. Okay. And did I already say that thing about Sue Ferguson? Yeah, I think I did. It's all a blur because I read this before earlier and then the mic wasn't on. But yeah, Sue Ferguson has never uttered a word. Anyway. All right. I wonder if Steve Wyatt has ever said anything, or John Bryan. Did they write books? We need to read the book by Alan Starkey. That might be enlightening. And didn't Madame Vasso write a book? Okay, anyway. I would soon see how volatile her emotional barometer could become. Where's I hate that when someone's like, and they put ER. No one says Where's Prince Andrew, I said instinctively. Well, maybe with the British accent it comes out with a little bit of... Anyway. I asked, instinctively using his Christian name while trying to retain some degree of respect. Despite the opulence of the surroundings, informality seemed to be the keynote. In all of my visits to Sunninghill Park, I never saw Sarah in anything other than blue jeans and sweater. This usually in her favorite pink. He's away, she said shortly, at sea somewhere. Ronald said quickly, well, let's see what he's missing. I couldn't help staring around as the Major ushered me into the dining room. A polished oak table took up most of the space, large enough to accommodate the 24 replica Chippendale chairs that had been specially made for them by Dorsetshire craftsmen. But the most striking feature had to be the huge glittering chandelier suspended above it, and I stared up, momentarily mesmerized by its beauty and the myriad lights flashing off the crystal teardrops like a kaleidoscope. Sarah laughed at my expression. Lovely, isn't it? We got it in Venice when we were on a trip. Somehow we got it back in one piece. I recall that the Queen had reportedly spent £250,000 on the interior of this magnificent mansion. Wherever I looked, the evidence stared back at me. All right, the purists had lambasted the interior of the Dallas Palace, calling it a cross between a supermarket and the J.R. Ewing Ranch. But really, what business was it of anyone but Andrew and Sarah? It was their home, after all. I mean, like, that's true. I don't know why designers are getting their little knickers in a knot, because it's like, it has nothing to do with you. You don't got to live there, so chill. I had read about the 50 rooms, the 12 bedrooms, and other extravagances, and I must admit that a loo seat that plays the Star-Spangled Banner has a lot to answer for. That had been another of Sarah's light-hearted acquisitions to liven the place up, the result of a day out at Disneyland. But the lounge had been criticized by one designer, Sandra Wicks, for being totally uncoordinated. She complained, "It looks as if Fergie has gone into a shop and said, 'I'll have that and that and that,' without giving much thought to what it would actually look like when she got it home." To me, it sounded more like a jibe against fellow designer Nina Campbell, whose colorful eye had been responsible for the final fabrics and furnishings. Yeah, that's actually probably a good point. Every once in a while she comes out with something that I'm like, oh, interesting. It probably was Sandra Wicks being a little ticked off that this other designer was chosen for, for decorating. So. Nina was the darling of the jet set, a visionary who designed homes for people like Rod Stewart and Adnan Khashoggi. She had reportedly been given the run of the Buckingham Palace cellars, as well as those of Windsor Castle, to rummage around for suitable pictures and furniture. The result, as one observer scathingly remarked, was a mix of chintz country house and high-tech modernism. You can't please everyone. For me, there was a lot that was good, and precious little that was bad about the contents and the colors of Sunninghill Park House. But what struck me immediately, and would remain with me throughout all my visits, was the lack of warmth about the place. It wasn't so much a home, more a museum, stacked with wondrous objects, or a hotel. Oh, please, I don't believe that either. I don't see how you can have peach walls and tartan curtains and teddy bears about the place and tons of family photos and chintz, and it's somehow lacking coziness and warmth. And she already said it was cozy. So you can't have it both ways. Leslie Player always wants to have it both ways. Like, it is, it's not. It is, it's not. I do, I don't. Baloney. It's interesting that, she did say earlier that she was falling in love. I feel like she forgets what she said. Because earlier, she says that she's having dinner with Ron Ferguson, and she says to herself, I'm falling in love with him. And then the very next chapter, she meets Steve Wyatt. And then she's falling in love with him. And then from that point on, Ronald Ferguson calling her, suddenly he's this crazy stalker. And, she can't imagine why, how he got the notion that there was something between them. Or why in the world would he think that she wanted something from him? And discounts the fact that she's already been sleeping with him and that she's had like a freaking bubble bath with him. They've been sipping champagne to us, to the future. And then suddenly she's like, he's crazy. He's calling me. And why won't he leave me alone? Certainly I, myself, did not give him false expectations. So, no. It's just getting... It's like she says one thing, her mind is wiped, and then she says another thing. Right? Am I going crazy? Help. The word that came to me was temporary, and that surprised me, because if anyone had been brought up in a real home, in that Doomsday? Is it, because it's spelled like Doomsday Book. So is it Doomsday or Domesday? I don't know. That Doomsday farmhouse in Dummer, which had been the family's base for more than half a century. That person was Sarah Ferguson. But that first evening, I didn't bother to question the whys or wherefores. Why would you? Like, why would you go into someone's house and be like, why, huh? Just eat your dinner. Shut up. Terry had left supper for us on the sideboard, a help-yourself buffet of chicken legs, cold cuts, and salad, and had laid out a smaller, more intimate table for us in an alcove by the window, which had seating for 4. For dessert, Sarah and Ronald always had the Ferguson special, Welsh rarebit. I don't even know what rarebit is. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. She would pick up a small handbell from the table and ring it when she wanted service. Welsh rarebit was a family tradition. I always think it's rabbit. And I think that's because it's rarebit. And I'm like, is it rabbit? So as a family tradition, while the rest of the guests would normally settle for an ordinary sweet or cheese and biscuits from a splendid cheese board. And your daughters? I asked. Where are they? In bed, said Sarah. She smiled. They wanted to see you, but I packed them off to bed early. They'll be here at breakfast. So we sat, just the 3 of us, in a quiet alcove, and talked far into the night, with Terry occasionally appearing like a shadow to refill our glasses or take our plates away. In those first intimate hours, I got to know Sarah, and to realize the depth of her devotion to her father, and his own fierce love for her, and his dependence on her. On that first night, there was very little small talk, apart from the revelation that we were both qualified helicopter pilots. Almost immediately, I found we were delving into far deeper waters. She says this about everyone. Oh my God. As soon as she meets someone, she's like, oh, small talk wasn't for us. We had to philosophize. And the conversation drifted quite naturally into matters of the heart and soul. We covered the spectrum from herbal teas. It's that damn herbal tea again. To spiritualism! ! I found that Sarah was fascinated by the esoteric and the unknown. Like me, she had tried to fathom the oldest mysteries of all. I've often wondered why we're here on this earth, and whether there's a purpose to life, she said. I'm always asking questions, but I don't seem to get too many answers. We had touched common ground immediately. I know the feeling, I told her. You know what these women sound like? They sound like teenage girls who are still so full of angst. It's like they haven't had, I don't know, just they haven't grown up. There's something about them that there's all this arrested development in this social set. You know, we've seen it with Diana, we've seen it with Fergie, we've seen it with Andrew, we've seen it, I think, a little bit with Prince Charles, you know, although he did eventually, you know. But there's all this arrested development, and it's just, I don't know if it comes from privilege. It might come from having too much time on your hands, where you're not having to hustle and worry about putting food on your table. Or you're not having to raise your children yourself because you've got nannies and, you know, staff, household staff. And, you know, the more I read, the more I'm like, you know what a blessing to not be in this rarefied society where you are so full of angst in your 30s that you're like, what is the meaning of life? I can't find an answer. Like, if you really want to find a meaning of life, then wholeheartedly, you know, pursue it. Go find God. You know what I mean? Like, go to church, go to temple, go to mosque. Like, go find a way to worship in a way that will feed your soul and make you a better person. But all of this, like going to psychics and herbal teas. I mean, it's so funny because herbal tea does not mean the same thing anymore. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's drinking herbal tea. But it's like, oh, I drink herbal tea. I'm so spiritual. It's just wild to me. Ugh. Okay. As we tucked into, but yeah, as I was saying, because I just saw the line again, I know the feeling. They just sound like teenage girls writing in their diaries. That's just what it reminds me of. Like 16 and like, oh, will I ever know my place in this world? Okay, I don't know. Now, I grew up, I'm still a Christian, but obviously I'm not the best one because I swear like a sailor. Those of you who grew up in like evangelical, or I come from a Pentecostal background, or if you grew up Baptist or Wesleyan or whatever, do you remember Michael W. Smith? He's still kicking, and I love his Christmas album. I think he has a few, but there's one, anyway, I won't get into it because I'm going to get on a tangent, but anyway, in the 90s, that was Michael W. Smith's like prime time, and he had this song, it might have even been from the 80s, called My Place in This World. I love it. I'm laughing, but I love it. And it reminds me of this. Like that's like the soundtrack of, it's like, roaming through the night to find my place in this world. My place in this world. Not a lot to lean on. Only it's in that thin, raspy Michael W. Smith voice that no one can emulate. He was really more of a musician than a singer, I think. Like he's a pianist, right? Like he's more a composer than he is a singer. I'm gonna have to listen to that. So yeah, look it up. Michael W. Smith, My Place in This World, because that is the soundtrack for these women. And if you know it, if you grew up, if you were rocking out in the 80s and 90s to Michael W. Smith, let me know. Okay. We tucked into delicious cold ham and cheese with a refreshing white wine. Oh, that sounds delicious. We've got a handful. Where did I get handful? We've got a wonderful cellar here, Leslie. Just you wait and see. Sarah's mood changed completely. Andrew doesn't drink, but that won't stop us, will it? Certainly not, said her father. And we laughed and raised our glasses to a future that seemed to be growing rosier by the hour. Andrew's name was not mentioned again that night. I hate when she tries to make, like, why would it? You know what I mean? Like, she's there with her father and with the guest. What's she going to do, sit around and yap about her husband all night? No. All right, now chapter 17 is entitled Sinning Hill. Sinning Hill, ... Supper over, we moved into the lounge for coffee and liqueurs. Champagne for Sarah. Relaxing on sofas around the large fireplace. Oh yes, doesn't it sound just so not homey? She said earlier that it's homely. She specifically said that it's homely, but then she turned around and said, "Ah, yes, here we go. Combined with a homely farmhouse." My first impression was huge fireplace, comfortable chairs, chintzy curtains, tartan drapes down the entire length of peach-colored walls, a grand piano packed with family portraits, pictures of Sarah, Andrew, and the princesses onto the mantelpiece, and small antique tables covered in family photographs, and teddy bears. But oh no, cold, not cozy at all. Anyway. Relaxing on sofas around the large fireplace, the talk turned inevitably to the forthcoming tournament, now coming up on me fast. Ronald said, "The dates are all confirmed. It should be a great weekend." "Provided the weather's right," cautioned Sarah. "You know what August can be like." "I'll keep my fingers crossed," I said. "As long as we don't have a cloudburst, we'll be fine." "You'll be finer with this news," said Ronald. He looked like a man who had rubbed the magic lamp and was waiting for the genie to appear as he paused for effect. Then, "Prince Charles and Princess Anne are going to write us a joint foreword, 1 page each for the souvenir program." I couldn't I don't know what that means. A joint foreword. Oh, I see. 1 page each for the souvenir program. Oh, okay, so they're passing out programs, and I get it now. And Prince Charles and Princess Anne are each going to write a full page for the program. Oh, lovely. I couldn't restrain a gasp. Oh, but that's incredible, I cried. That's going to clinch the whole thing. It's got to be a success now. Up to now, I had only dimly realized just how much this whole tournament meant to me. Okay. With all the months of hard slogging, the uphill climb from nowhere and no one to achieving now the peak of royal acclaim as the seal of approval for all my efforts. Sarah laughed at my excitement, and Ronald joined in. All of a sudden, Sarah jumped to her feet. Come on, I'll show you your room. She left her father by the fireplace, nursing a brandy, while she led me down the corridor to the guest wing. My room was one of the 2 adjoining guest bedrooms on the ground floor, each with an imposing 4-poster bed and its own ensuite bathroom. The wallpaper was in a cheerful country pastel shade. There was crisp white linen on the bed. And when Sarah took me into the bathroom, I saw pale blue towels with S and A monograms embroidered on the corners. They were huge, big enough to cover a bed. Oh, I love a big, ginormous towel. That feels so luxurious when you get out of a bath and you have one of those ginormous towels that you can just fully wrap around yourself. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a curvy girl, you know, and so when I put a towel around myself, it does not cover me. Okay, I don't know why I put my book down to tell you that. On one wall of the bathroom was an amazing trompe. I don't know. Something. A 3-dimensional optical illusion of a monkey reaching into a bowl. Okay. My eyes widened still further at the range of toiletries by the basin, shampoos, fragrant soaps, bottles of Hilden mineral water. Gosh, I exclaimed, this is incredible. Sarah laughed again at my expression. I've got masses more, she said. These companies send them to me. You should see our storeroom. It's piled to the ceiling. I'll take you there. I call it our Aladdin's Cave. I was well aware of how Sarah had been criticized for all the freebies she had been gathering like a magpie since she had been given the keys to the kingdom of her marriage. In particular, that infamous trip when she brought back 50 pieces of luggage loaded with gifts from America. That brilliant stroke of public relations probably did the Duchess of York more harm than anything else, until those pictures of her cavorting with John Bryan by the pool in the south of France a year later. The British public can forgive virtually anything. They cannot forgive greed. But now was hardly the time to mention such discordant matters. I just gaped around at the opulence of my first night under the roof of Sunninghill Park, and nodded dumbly. Come back when you're ready, said Sarah as she left the room. Make yourself at home. This place is yours now. My overnight case had been left beside one of the chintzy... Oh, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. My overnight case had been left beside one of the chintz-covered armchairs. I had very little in it except fresh clothes for the morning, but I took out a pair of slacks and a blouse, opened the wardrobe, and stopped dead in my tracks. There, on a set of hangers, were a blazer, a suit, trousers. I recognized them at once by their size. My mind went into overdrive. It was no accident. I had deliberately been put into the same room as Ronald. It meant that Sarah not only knew about us, but was conniving in her father's deceit in his marriage, and under her own roof, too. Why is she acting like she has the moral high ground here when she is the woman who literally went up to his wife at the polo club and was like, thanks, I wanted to thank you because your husband's been so helpful. Oh, what a dirty dog. But she turns around and acts so hard done by. Oh, my goodness. Oh dear. Oh, I've got the moral high ground. Everyone's so dark and dirty, but not me. You can see the speck in your brother's eye, but you can't see the log in your own. Okay. And Andrew? I doubted it. In all the times I was at Sunninghill, I am convinced he viewed Ronald as simply a friend, and had no knowledge that was... What? under her own roof, too. And Andrew? I doubted it. Was she saying that Andrew doesn't know about the affair? I doubted it. In all the times I was at Sunninghill, I am convinced he viewed Ronald as simply a friend and had no knowledge that we ever had shared a room in the Queen's house. All right. Faced with that wardrobe, I thought, this is all I need. I was also having my period, and not feeling particularly at my brightest and best. I walked slowly out of the room and back along the carpeted corridor to the lounge, suddenly plagued with mixed feelings about the rest of the night. Strangely, nobody except me seemed to think anything was amiss. Sarah lounged back in a deep armchair, one leg dangling over the side, sipping champagne. Her father chatted about the princesses, asking how Beatrice and Eugenie were getting on at school. It was like any family gathering, but for me, quite bizarre. Because I had suddenly realized that it was taken for granted in that great house that I was Ronald's mistress. And I was presumably expected to behave as such. Well, she is Ronald's mistress. What is she on about? I looked across at Ronald and caught the gaze of the man who had helped to make all my dreams of the past year become reality. Beneath the bushy ginger brows, his eyes were laughing back at me. Whatever his faults, I owed this man so much. I felt a warm glow of gratitude seep unheralded through me, and something else, too. All right, so we were sharing a room. She's on one. I don't even know. Around midnight, Sarah yawned and said, I'm off to bed. I caught a glance from her father. See you both in the morning. Right you are, my dear, said Ronald. Good night. The doors closed behind her. Ronald and I chatted desultorily. I don't know that word. Sorry. For another 10 minutes, and my phone's over there, so I can't look at it. Then he looked pointedly at his watch, looked at me, and raised one eyebrow. Bedtime, said that gesture loud and clear. I nodded, rose from the sofa, and made for the door. Ronald opened it for me, then took my arm and led me firmly down the passage to the guest bedrooms. The house was quiet, but I sensed that there were people awake. Perhaps Terry and Heather? His wife? Certainly those who never sleep. The security guards, the special armed Royal Protection Squad from the Thames Valley Police, constantly vigilant. Outside the bedroom, we both stopped. Then Ronald opened the door, and with a courtly bow, extended a hand for me to enter. We had drunk enough wine by now to loosen our inhibitions, but I still could not hold down a feeling of indignation, righteous or not, that somehow Sarah and her father had planned all this at my expense. I mean, I doubt they had planned it at her expense. He probably told Sarah, like, yeah, I have a mistress, and this is her, and I want you to meet her. And then Sarah's like, yeah, cool, I'll invite her over, and then you guys can stay over. Yeah. But I doubt they're sitting there, like, rubbing their little paws together, like, we know how to get her back in the sack with you. This is wild. So a little courtly bow. Planned this at my expense. Ronald started to unpeel. Unpeel? Is that a word? Okay. If you're unpeeling it, it means that it's peeled. Like, can you unpeel this banana? What? I'm just a pleb, guys. I don't know. But I raised a hand. Just a minute, I said, pushing him down firmly onto the bed. He succumbed willingly. Listen, I want to get one thing straight. Sarah knows, doesn't she, about us? You think? That's right, Ronald agreed amiably. We tell each other everything, but old GB won't talk. She's a great girl. GB? I said, puzzled. What do you mean? My pet name for her. GB stands for Gingerbush. It's our little family secret. Andrew doesn't like me calling her that in front of him, let alone anyone else, so I try not to. She even has a necklace with GB on it, but very few people know what it means. Ginger Bush? Christ, I thought, what a family. I wondered if the Queen knew. Aha! So he does mean Bush. In that sense. As in, does the carpet match the drapes? Ronald looked directly at me. Leslie, do you really mind? Well, no, I said doubtfully. I felt trapped. But there was nowhere to run. I was still confused about my emotions, about my feelings for the speckless, foolish, ultimately lonely man who was so desperately trying to take over my life and make me fall in love with him. But she already said she was falling in love with him. I would never feel more for him than I felt that night. And it wasn't enough. That I knew. But still, I owed him. Aloud, I said, I thought you'd be the one who would be worried. I gestured at the wardrobe, where his clothes had been neatly stacked. I mean, we don't want half the world knowing, do we? They don't, he assured me. And they won't. Now, get undressed and come to bed. I'm sorry, I said. I wanted this euphoric evening to be nice for him, too. What? I'm so confused because, she's talking about she's so upset, and then she's turning around and saying, like, oh, it's a euphoric evening. But I can't do it tonight. I've got my period. The stark truth was that I was bleeding, but from the after effects of the abortion, not from Auntie's visit. Ronald was stretched out on the bed. I remembered something that had been nagging at the back of my mind ever since our first afternoon of lovemaking. One thing I kept meaning to ask you. What? When we were together that first day, remember you told me it was the only time you had ever made love outside your marriages? Yes, and it's true. But what about that business at the Wigmore Club? Doesn't that count? Oh, that, his face darkened. We both remembered that dreadful summer's day in May 1988, when a Sunday tabloid splashed the front-page expose of the Major's secret visits to a notorious vice club in Marylebone, in the heart of London's medical district. The site, at number 67 Marylebone Lane, originally established in 1970 as a gentleman's steam bath and massage parlor, at what? Well, she says number 67, and then she says number 82. At number 82, oh, I see. It's another address? I don't know. At number 82 Wigmore Street, once employed Oriental masseuses imported from Thailand to provide a discreet service in plush surroundings. By the time my incautious galloping major rode full pelt through the anonymous green-painted portals, it was being run by hand-picked girls from Germany, Malaysia, and even New Zealand, and calling itself a health club, even though in reality it was nothing more or less than a high-class brothel. As the People story revealed, a parade of showbiz celebrities, TV actors, sports stars, and eminent businessmen are known to be members of the club. Tardy-looking girls with names like Julia, Lorraine, Gina, and Yitka step forward eagerly to tell how the Major gave them 20-pound tips for services rendered. Knowing Ronald as I did now, I couldn't help thinking, who would dare to cast the first stone? There was just so much hypocrisy around, and enough scandal going on in high places to fill the tabloids every week. Why judge him so sanctimoniously, as so many of them attempted to do? Of course, Ronald had been silly to risk so much, but, as was evidenced by his daughter, veins of incaution ran through the Ferguson's bloodstream like fool's gold. This is the third time or fourth time she's said that exact phrase. He knew it. He had been caught, and he had paid the price. Now, in response to my question, he shrugged his broad shoulders and said, that was all very stupid and unpleasant. I know what everyone thought, but I can honestly tell you, here and now, that what I had down at that place was what is euphemistically called hand relief. In the morning, I was woken by a light tap at the door. At first, I didn't realize where I was, but when I did, I was out of bed in a flash, scampering into the bathroom. I just had time to slip inside before the bedroom door opened, and I heard the smooth tones of Terry the butler. "Good morning, sir. Your tea." The daily papers headed by the Times, but also including the down-market tabloids like the Sun and the Star, would be laid out on the sideboard in the breakfast room. There was a muffled thank you from the pillow, and then the sound of the door closing. I popped my head round. And there, on the table, was a silver tray with a pot of tea, a jug of milk, a bowl of white sugar lumps, and 2 cups! Exclamation point. Oh! Now it was common knowledge below stairs. Official. I could only wonder what the conversation would be like in the kitchen that day. The Major and his mistress enjoying their morning cup of tea to revive them after the rigors of the night before. Wild. It had been a wonderful night in the House of York, strange hours stolen from reality. But now the warmth of the previous evening had vanished with the cold light of day, and in its place was growing a certainty that this whole affair was getting dangerously out of hand. Oh no. Well, that's it. It just gets more absurd as we go along. All right, let's meet in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I should do. Should I keep the bangs? Should I cultivate the bangs? Should I do like the waterfall bangs, or should I don't know. All right. Okay. We will meet again very soon. I hope your holidays are going very well. And that's all I got for you right now. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.